The massive alien vessels appeared in Earth's orbit without warning. 7 of them, each bigger than anything humans had ever built, hanging over major cities like dark clouds promising storms. No communication, no demands, just silence for 3 days while the world held its breath. When they finally spoke, it wasn't with the peaceful greeting people had hoped for. Attention, inhabitants of Earth. The transmission cut across every radio frequency, television channel, and digital screen worldwide. You now belong to the hegemony. Resistance is pointless. You have 30 days to dismantle your military forces and prepare for processing. In Seoul, Captain Ji-Ho Park watched the broadcast from the underground command center, her hands clenched into fists. Around her, military and government officials argued frantically about their options. "We can't fight them," Defense Minister Han insisted, sweat beading on his forehead. "Look at their technology. They crossed galaxies to get here. So we just surrender." Ji-Ho couldn't keep the anger from her voice. Without even trying to fight back, the room fell silent when the screens changed to show the alien ambassador. The being called itself Grand Executor Tail, tall with grey-blue skin that seemed to shimmer under the lights. Its 4 eyes blinked independently as it explained humanity's future: resource extraction, labor camps, and biological harvesting. Later, that night, Ji-Ho couldn't sleep. Her small apartment felt too quiet, too normal when everything had changed. She pulled out old files from her intelligence work. Unexplained signals, mysterious satellite data, rumors from astronomers who had disappeared from public view years ago. They'd been watching us, planning this. Her phone buzzed with a message. From an unknown number. "Not everyone is giving up. Meeting tomorrow, location attached, come alone." Dawn found Ji-Ho standing in the empty warehouse on the outskirts of the city. One by one, others arrived. Scientists, soldiers, engineers from a dozen countries. Among them was Professor Tae-Woo Kim, once famous for revolutionary communications technology, before he mysteriously retired 5 years ago. "I've been preparing for this," the old man said, his eyes bright with purpose. "Many thought I was crazy, but I knew they were coming." "How?" someone asked. "Because they've done this before." Tae-Woo projected images onto the wall, planets that looked similar to Earth, now barren and stripped of resources. "I intercepted their communications years ago. The hegemony has conquered 17 worlds that we know of." Ji-Ho felt cold realization settle in her stomach. "So that's our future?" "No," Tae-Woo said firmly. "That's their plan. Our future is still unwritten." Over the next few days, their group grew. Hai-Won, a brilliant physicist who spotted unusual patterns in the alien's shield. Technology. Young-Ho, a military strategist who believed in fighting smart, not just hard. Sunmi, a doctor who analyzed the biological data they'd gathered on the visitors and found surprising weaknesses. 10 days after the aliens arrived, Ji-Ho stood in their new headquarters, an abandoned subway station converted into a resistance base. Maps covered the walls along with charts of alien technology and biology. People worked at salvaged computers, testing theories and building prototypes. "They expect us to be afraid," Ji-Ho addressed the room. "They expect us to kneel because that's what everyone else has done. But they don't understand humans very well, do they?" A small cheer went through the room. The aliens had begun landing smaller ships, setting up command posts in key cities. They moved with confidence, barely bothering with security measures. Why would they? No species had ever successfully resisted. Ji-Ho's team worked around the clock. Tae-Woo discovered that certain radio frequencies caused the aliens visible discomfort. Their skin rippled, and they seemed disoriented. Hai-Won found patterns in their shield technology that suggested vulnerabilities. Small victories, but each one sparked hope. Then came Auckland. The aliens, perhaps sensing resistance brewing, decided a demonstration was needed. The city vanished in blinding light, leaving nothing but scorched earth. 5 million lives, gone in seconds. The world leaders called for immediate surrender. People took to the streets in panic. But in underground bases and hidden rooms, Ji-Ho and others like her only worked harder. "We need to hit back," Young-Ho argued during their strategy meeting. "Something small but meaningful. Show people that fighting is possible." 3 days later, they got their chance. An alien patrol ship landed near their base for what appeared to be routine monitoring. Jiho led a small team armed with devices Taewoo had built, sound emitters tuned to frequencies the aliens couldn't tolerate. "Remember," Jiho told her nervous team, "we're not trying to kill them. We need information. And a ship to study. The raid wasn't perfect." They lost 2 people, and Jiho took a burn along her arm from alien weapons. But they captured the ship and 3 aliens alive, the first victory against the hegemony in its long history of conquest. Back at base, as Sunmi treated her arm, Jiho watched their scientists swarm over the alien technology. "They've conquered 17 worlds," Sunmi said quietly. "What makes you think we can be different?" Jiho looked at the people working around them, determined, clever, refusing to give up even after Auckland. "Because those other worlds weren't Earth," she said simply. "And they weren't home to humans. We've spent our entire history fighting impossible odds, sometimes others, sometimes ourselves. It's what we do best." Outside their hidden base, the massive alien ship still hung in the sky. The 30-day deadline grew closer, but for the first time since they arrived, Jiho felt something she hadn't expected to feel again. Hope. 20 days until surrender. The alien deadline loomed over every conversation, every news broadcast, every quiet moment. Most world governments had already begun dismantling their militaries, afraid of another Auckland. Ordinary people packed what they could and fled to rural areas, hoping distance might somehow save them from whatever processing meant. But beneath the surface of defeat, something else was growing. Jiho stood in the center of their expanded headquarters, now spanning 3 abandoned subway levels. What had started as a dozen desperate people had grown to over 300. Similar cells had formed in other cities: Tokyo, Nairobi, Buenos Aires, Vancouver. They communicated using old technology, pre-digital, that the aliens didn't monitor. "They're watching for missiles, satellites, and advanced weapons," Taewoo explained to the newest recruits. "They're not watching for radio waves or physical messengers. They think we've accepted defeat." The captured alien ship had yielded critical information. HFY had barely slept in days, analyzing its systems with a team of engineers. "It's not that they're vastly more advanced," she explained during the morning briefing. Dark circles under her eyes, but her voice steady with excitement. "Their shield technology works on predictable frequencies. It cycles through a pattern. Complicated, but still a pattern." "Meaning?" Jiho asked. "Meaning we can predict it. And if we hit it with the exact inverse frequency, at exactly the right moment, we can disable their shields," Young-ho finished, already calculating possibilities. That afternoon, as Jiho was helping distribute newly manufactured disruptors to strike teams, a commotion broke out near the entrance. Guards were bringing in someone new, an older man, disheveled but standing tall. "Says he has important information," the guard explained. "Wouldn't talk to anyone but the leader." The man stepped forward. "Captain Park, I'm Do-hyun Lee, former communications specialist. Been tracking their movements since they arrived." "How did you find us?" Jiho asked, suspicious. "The same way they will if you keep using that transmitter." He pointed to their communications array. "You're good, but I'm better. And if I can, find you." Testing proved he was right. Within hours, Do-hyun had redesigned their communications system to be truly undetectable. But that wasn't his most valuable contribution. "I've been monitoring their internal communications," he revealed that night to Jiho's inner circle. "They've never encountered serious resistance before, never needed contingency plans." He brought up a map showing alien patrol routes and command centers. "They're overconfident. Minimal guards here, and here, and they all report to the main command ship once daily." "So they have a routine," Young-ho said thoughtfully. "Routines can be exploited." The next day brought both hope and horror. 3 resistance cells successfully tested HFY's shield disruptor technology on smaller alien craft. Meanwhile, the hegemony began constructing massive processing facilities outside major cities. Huge, ominous structures with conveyor systems visible from miles away. Drone footage smuggled out of occupied territories showed humans being sorted into categories: workers, resources, specimens. No one wanted to think about what that last one meant. Jiho found Taewoo alone that evening, tinkering with what looked like old radio equipment. "Another transmission disruptor?" she asked. "Something better?" He smiled faintly. "I've been analyzing their neural responses to our communications. Did you know their nervous systems are extremely sensitive to certain frequencies? Not just uncomfortable, it actually disrupts their ability to think clearly. A non-lethal weapon. Exactly, we can't outgun them, but maybe we can give them headaches. 15 days until surrender. The resistance had grown enough to attempt their first coordinated action. Small teams across 6 cities simultaneously targeted alien patrol ships with the disruptors. 32 ships disabled. 117 aliens captured. The hegemony's response was immediate and brutal. They leveled a small town in Germany as punishment. But something unexpected happened. Instead of crushing the resistance, their cruelty fueled it. "They've miscalculated," Jiho told her increasingly crowded war room. "They think fear will make us surrender faster. They don't understand that humans get dangerous when backed into a corner." New recruits poured in. Soldiers who had refused to disarm. Engineers who sabotaged their own projects rather than hand them over. Ordinary people who simply refused to accept the end of human freedom. "We need to hit something bigger," Young Ho argued. "Show everyone what's possible." The plan came together in pieces. Haiwan's shield disruption technology, Taewoo's neural disruptors, Du Hyun's intelligence on alien patrol schedules, and the unexpected discovery that the aliens couldn't see well in rain. Their compound eyes struggled with refracting water. Droplets. They chose their target, the Chicago Command Center, one of 5 major alien installations coordinating the occupation. The night before the operation, Jiho found herself unable to sleep, going over the plan again and again. Worried. Sunmi appeared beside her, offering a cup of hot tea. "Terrified," Jiho admitted. "If this fails, then we try something else," Sunmi said simply. "That's the human way, isn't it? We adapt." The Chicago operation was set for dawn, intentionally timed with a forecasted heavy rainstorm. 6 teams of 12, each with specific objectives. Get in, gather intelligence, plant Taewoo's devices, get out. Jiho watched from their remote command center as the teams moved into position. The rain came down in sheets, providing perfect cover. The shield disruptors worked exactly as Haiwan had predicted, creating 3-second windows of vulnerability that allowed teams to slip through. "Team 1 in position," crackled the radio. "Team 2 breaching now." Jiho held her breath as the operation unfolded. On screen after screen, resistance fighters moved through alien corridors, planting devices, downloading data, setting charges. Then came the call they'd been waiting for. All teams clear, detonating in 3, 2, 1. The neural disruptors activated simultaneously. On their surveillance feeds, they watched aliens drop to their knees, clutching their heads. Command systems went dark. And for the first time since their arrival, the massive ships hanging in Earth's sky faltered. Just for a moment, just a slight wobble, but everyone saw it. "Send the broadcast," Jiho ordered, her voice steady despite her pounding heart. Du Hyun nodded, activating the system they'd prepared. Across every screen, every phone, every remaining television on Earth, the message played, "People of Earth, we are the resistance. Today we struck back against the hegemony. Today we proved they are not gods. They can be fought. They can be beaten. Join us. The fight for Earth has just begun." Reports flooded in throughout the day. Spontaneous uprisings in occupied territories, military units that had gone into hiding emerging with weapons, people attacking alien patrols with whatever they had. That evening, as her team celebrated their first major victory, Jiho stood apart, studying the alien translation of hegemony communications they'd intercepted. One phrase kept appearing: unexpected resistance. "They're talking about us," Taewoo said, joining her. 8,000 years of conquest, and we're the first to actually fight back." "They wanted us to kneel," Jiho said quietly. Taewoo smiled slightly. "Then they really should have picked a different planet." The sky over Seoul had changed. The massive hegemony command ship now hovered much lower than before, its shadow darkening half the city. Below it, Processing centers had sprung up like cancerous growths, huge industrial complexes where captured humans disappeared inside and strange containers emerged. No one talked about what happened in those centers. No one had to. 10 days. After the Chicago operation, the alien deadline passed. The hegemony began what they called formal integration, methodically working through major cities, neighborhood by neighborhood. Their troops moved with eerie precision, herding people toward the centers, separating families with cold efficiency. The resistance watched, planned, and prepared for what Jiho had named Operation Phoenix. Why Phoenix? Sunmi had asked. Because, Jiho explained, checking her weapon, when this works, humanity rises from the ashes. Their underground headquarters had tripled in size again. Former military from a dozen countries trained civilian volunteers. Engineers and scientists worked side by side, refining HFY's shield disruptors and mass-producing Taiwu's neural weapons. What had begun as a desperate last stand had become something else entirely, Earth's first unified defense force. Chicago. Heard them, Young-ho reported during the strategy session, but they've adapted, changed patrol patterns, upgraded shields. They're learning. So are we, Jiho responded, bringing up the latest intelligence Do-hyun had gathered. Their command structure is hierarchical. Each regional commander reports to the ship above, which reports to their fleet commander. Cut off the head. And the body stumbles, finished Young-ho, but the head is in that. He pointed to the image of the massive command ship. We can't get near it. We don't need to, HFY said quietly. Everyone turned to look at the physicist. She'd barely slept in weeks, but her eyes were bright with purpose. We've been targeting their shields directly, but there's another way. She explained her discovery. The hegemony's technology relied on a quantum communication network that connected all their systems, their ships, their weapons, their processing centers, all linked through this network. It's efficient, but vulnerable, she explained. Introduce the right kind of disruption at the right node, and it cascades through the entire system, Taiwu finished, already understanding. Brilliant. The plan took shape. Simultaneous strikes at key communication nodes around the world, culminating in a master stroke at the central hub in Seoul. But they needed something they didn't have. Access to the communication center inside the main processing facility. It's heavily guarded, Do-hyun warned. Even with the shield disruptors, getting inside would be necessary. Jiho cut him off. Whatever it takes. They planned the operation for 3 days later, exactly 1 month after the hegemony's arrival. Teams worldwide prepared for coordinated attacks on communication nodes. The Seoul team, led by Jiho herself, would attempt the impossible, penetrating the heart of the enemy's operation. The night before, Jiho couldn't sleep. She found herself on the roof of an abandoned building, looking up at the alien ship blotting out the stars. Should. You be up here, Sunmi's voice came from behind her. Not the safest place for our leader. Nowhere is safe anymore, Jiho replied. Tomorrow. Tomorrow we either win or we die trying, Sunmi finished, standing beside her. But either way, we die as humans, on our feet. In the pre-dawn hours, Operation Phoenix began. Across the globe, resistance cells launched their attacks with perfect synchronization. Reports flooded in. Success in Mumbai, partial success in Rio, communications down in Sydney. In Seoul, Jiho led her team through the rain-slicked streets toward the processing center. HFY's latest shield disruptors worked perfectly, creating a gap just large enough for them to slip through the facility's outer defenses. Remember, Jiho reminded them as they moved deeper into the alien structure, we need 15 minutes at the central node. Whatever happens, whatever it costs, we hold that position for 15 minutes. The inside of the processing center was worse than they'd imagined. Humans in various stages of processing, some sedated on conveyor belts, others in transparent containers filled with fluid. The team moved past, faces grim but focused on their mission. When the alarm finally sounded, they were 3 levels down, approaching the communication hub. Alien security forces converged from all directions. Young-ho and half the team broke. Off to hold a defensive position at the main junction. We'll buy you time, he said simply. Jiho wanted to argue, but knew there was no alternative. She led the remaining team forward, fighting their way through increasingly dense resistance. The communication hub was a cavernous room filled with pulsing crystalline structures. Alien technicians turned in surprise as the humans burst in, weapons firing. Within moments, the room was secured, and HFY began her work, connecting their devices to the alien network. "How long?" Jiho asked, taking position by the door. 10 minutes to upload the virus, HFY replied, fingers flying across her equipment. 5 more for it to propagate through their network. "We'll hold," Jiho promised, though she could already hear the sound of approaching forces. The next 15 minutes stretched into eternity. Wave after wave of alien troops tried to breach their position. Sun-Mi took a hit to her leg, but kept fighting. 2 other team members fell. Jiho's weapon overheated and failed. She switched to a captured alien device, its strange design awkward in her hands. 5 more minutes, HFY called, her voice strained. The door began to glow red as the aliens tried to cut through. Jiho and the remaining defenders braced for what would surely be their last stand. 2 minutes. The door exploded inward. Alien troops poured through the opening and then froze. Their weapons powered down. The lights in their armor flickered and died. Throughout the facility, alien systems began to fail. The same thing was happening across the globe, a cascading. Failure spreading through their entire network. "It's working," HFY whispered, her eyes wide with disbelief. Jiho didn't wait to celebrate. "Fall back! Everyone out now!" They retreated through suddenly darkened corridors, past confused and disoriented alien troops. Outside, they witnessed something none of them had expected to see. The massive command ship, drifting aimlessly, its lights blinking erratically. By nightfall, reports confirmed the same thing worldwide. The hegemony's network had collapsed. Their ships were disabled. Their troops were in disarray. And humans everywhere were rising up, attacking the processing centers, freeing those inside. In the Resistance headquarters, amid the celebration, Jiho found Tae-woo staring at intercepted alien communications. "What is it?" she asked. "They're calling for reinforcements," he said grimly. "This was just their advance force. The main fleet is coming." Jiho felt a moment of despair. After everything they'd accomplished, it might still not be enough. But looking around at what humans had built together, what they'd accomplished against impossible odds, she felt something stronger than fear. Then, "We'll be ready for them too," she said. Phoenix Protocol was just the beginning. Tae-woo smiled slightly. "They really shouldn't have threatened the one species in the galaxy too stubborn to know when they're beaten." Outside, the disabled alien ship drifted lower in the sky, a visible reminder that the impossible had already happened once. Earth had fought back. And for the first time in the hegemony's long history of conquest, they were the ones on the defensive. 3. Weeks after Operation Phoenix, Earth existed in a strange state between victory and dread. The disabled hegemony ships still hung in the sky, silent tombstones of the first wave. Some had crashed in remote areas, providing valuable technology that teams of scientists worked day and night to understand. The processing centers stood empty, their grim purpose abandoned. Those who had been rescued from inside rarely spoke about what they'd experienced. Some couldn't speak at all anymore. In Seoul, the Resistance headquarters had moved above ground, occupying a former government building. Representatives from resistance cells worldwide had gathered, the closest thing to a unified Earth government that had ever existed. "The reinforcements will arrive in approximately 2 months, Do-hyun announced, projecting intercepted hegemony communications onto the wall. The room fell silent, digesting this news. A fleet 3 times larger than the first wave. Jiho studied the faces around the table, people who had become family through fire and blood. HFY, thinner than ever, but eyes bright with determination. Young-ho, his left arm now a prosthetic after the battle at the processing center. Sun-Mi, walking with a cane but refusing to stay in medical. Tae-woo, who hadn't slept more than 3 hours at a stretch since Phoenix. 2 months to prepare, Jiho said finally. "What do we have?" The inventory was both encouraging and terrifying. Earth's military forces had largely been dismantled before the resistance began. What remained was a patchwork of weapons, mostly captured alien technology that humans were still learning to use. The shield disruptors work consistently now, HFY reported, and we've improved the neural weapons, extended their range by 300%. Not enough, Young-ho shook his head. Not against a fleet that size. After the meeting, Ji-ho found Tae-woo in his lab, surrounded by alien components. He barely noticed when she entered, his focus complete. "When did you last eat?" she asked. He looked up, momentarily confused. "What day is it?" "Wednesday." "Then Monday, probably." Ji-ho pulled up a chair. "We need you alive, old man." He smiled faintly. "What we need is a miracle." He gestured to the equipment spread before him. "I've been studying their FTL communication system. It's remarkable. Instantaneous transmission across any distance. Can we disrupt it like we did their local network? Better." His eyes gleamed. "We can use it." Over the next week, Tae-woo's idea took shape. The hegemony's faster-than-light communication system connected their entire empire. With the right modifications, Earth could broadcast on the same network, reaching every world the hegemony had conquered. "Imagine," Tae-woo explained to the council, "every subjugated species learning simultaneously that the hegemony has been defeated, even temporarily, learning that resistance is possible." A galaxy-wide uprising, Ji-ho realized. The work proceeded, day and night. Teams worldwide converted Earth's largest radio telescopes and communication arrays into transmitters compatible with the alien technology. Every captured ship was cannibalized for parts. Meanwhile, HFY made her own breakthrough. "Their neural sensitivity," she explained, showing brain scans of captured aliens. "It's not just discomfort they experience from our frequencies, it's actual pain. Their entire nervous system evolved differently from ours." "Meaning?" Ji-ho asked. "Meaning we can build a global defense system. Satellites broadcasting frequencies that make it physically impossible for them to function near Earth." Hope spread cautiously. Work teams labored around the clock, launching improvised satellites, converting communication towers. Everyone contributed. Children wound coils. Elderly engineers came out of retirement. Former enemies worked side by side. 6 weeks after Phoenix, they were ready for the first test. A captured alien was brought to a sealed chamber where a prototype of the neural broadcaster was activated at minimal power. The effect was immediate and disturbing. The alien collapsed, its 4 eyes rolling back, body convulsing. "Turn it off," Sunmi ordered, rushing to the alien's side. The medical team had been studying their physiology, learning how to keep their captives alive for research. Later, in a private meeting, Sunmi confronted Ji-ho. "We can't use this," she said. "It's torture. It violates everything we're fighting for." "It's them or us," Young-ho argued. "If we become like them to win, what exactly are we saving?" Sunmi shot back. The debate raged for days. In the end, they modified the system. The frequencies would cause disorientation and pain, but not the devastating neural collapse they'd witnessed in testing. It would drive the aliens back without destroying them. "We're better than them," Ji-ho said simply. "We need to remember that." At the same time, Tae-woo completed the FTL broadcast system. The message was carefully crafted in the hegemony's own language, using terms from their military communications. "Attention all worlds under hegemony control. Earth has successfully resisted the first wave. Their ships are destroyed, their soldiers defeated. Resistance is possible. Rise now." Attached were technical specifications for the shield disruptors and neural weapons, everything needed to fight back. "Once we send this," Do-hyun warned, "there's no turning back. They'll know exactly where the broadcast originated." "They're already coming for us," Ji-ho reminded him. "At least this way we won't face them alone." On a clear autumn night, with the disabled alien ships still hanging in the sky like dark stars, they activated both systems simultaneously. The neural defense network hummed to life, a protective web surrounding Earth. And the FTL message burst, outward at impossible speed, racing to distant worlds. For 3 days, nothing happened. Earth continued preparing, but doubt crept in. Had the broadcast failed? Would anyone even answer? Then, on the 4th day, the first response came, A simple acknowledgement signal using the same frequency, then another, and another. Within a week, 17 worlds had responded, some with desperate questions, others with solemn promises of support. "It's working," Taewoo whispered, tears in his eyes as he monitored the incoming signals. "They're rising up." The hegemony's response was swift and furious. Intercepted communications revealed that troops were being diverted from the Earthbound fleet to deal with uprisings across their territory. Grand Executor Tael sent a direct message to Earth's resistance. "You have accomplished nothing but extending your suffering. For this interference, your world will not merely be harvested, it will be eradicated. The Planet Killer fleet has been dispatched." In the war room, the mood darkened at this news. "Planet Killer?" Sunmi asked. Do-hyun pulled up translated hegemony records. "Ships capable of triggering extinction-level events. They've used them 3 times before on worlds that fought too hard." Heavy silence fell. "How long?" Ji-ho finally asked. 4 weeks maximum," Do-hyun replied. "They're diverting all resources to reach us first, before the rebellion spread further." Young-ho stood up, his artificial arm whirring softly. "Then we have 4 weeks to figure out how to kill something designed to kill planets. Outside, people continued working, unaware of this latest threat. Children played in parks reclaimed from processing centers, families reunited. Life tentatively returned to the spaces between the fallen alien ships. Looking out at his city, Taewoo stood beside Ji-ho on the headquarters roof. "I always wanted to see the stars up close," he said softly. "Not quite what I imagined." Ji-ho watched a group of children playing, throwing a ball near a crashed alien shuttle. "We've done something no one else has ever done," she said. "We showed the galaxy that the hegemony can be fought. But can they be beaten?" Taewoo asked. Ji-ho thought of everything humans had accomplished in just 2 months. Technologies reversed engineered, weapons created, global cooperation where there had only been division. "We're about to find out," she said. "But if anyone in this galaxy can do it, it's us." The Planet Killer fleet appeared first as tiny points of light, visible only through the most powerful telescopes. 7 massive ships, each larger than anything. In the first wave, surrounded by hundreds of smaller vessels. They decelerated at the edge of the solar system, moving with deliberate slowness. Not rushing, confident, Earth watched them come. There was no panic this time, no desperate fleeing or pleading governments, just a quiet, determined readiness. "They want us to be afraid," Ji-ho told the global broadcast. "They expect us to beg for mercy. That is not what humans do." The neural defense network had been expanded, covering Earth in an invisible shield that would cause unbearable pain to any hegemony forces that tried to enter the atmosphere. Thousands of makeshift satellites orbited the planet, ready to broadcast the disruptive frequencies. But everyone knew it wouldn't be enough. "They'll stay out of range and bombard us from a distance," Young-ho explained during the final strategy session. "Typical Planet Killer approach is to target fault lines, trigger earthquakes and volcanic eruptions, then follow with bombardment of major population centers." "Can our shield disruptors reach that far?" someone asked. Haewon shook her head. "Not even close." In his laboratory, surrounded by the combined scientific minds of Earth, Taewoo had been working on something else entirely. When Ji-ho came to check on progress, she found him examining what looked like a small crystal, glowing, with faint blue light. "Is that from their communication system?" she asked. "The heart of it," he confirmed. "We've been so focused on their weapons, their shields, but their greatest vulnerability is right here." He held up the crystal. "Their quantum network links every ship, every weapon, every system. One network, one protocol, unchanged for thousands of years. Because they've never needed to change it," Ji-ho realized. "No one's ever threatened them before." Taewoo smiled, the exhaustion on his face momentarily replaced by excitement. "Exactly. And now we've had months to study it, to understand it, to find its flaws." The plan came together in the final days before the fleet's arrival. A virus, designed to infiltrate the hegemony's quantum network and turn their weapons systems against themselves. But delivering it required something seemingly impossible: direct access to one of the Planet Killer ships. "A suicide mission," Young-ho said flatly when Ji-ho proposed it. A necessary one, she countered, unless someone has a better idea. No one did. Volunteers came forward immediately, too many. They selected the team carefully: pilot Yunji, who had mastered flying the captured alien shuttles, engineer Hyunwoo, who could interface with their systems, and Jiho herself, who refused to send others on a mission she wouldn't undertake. "This is stupid," Sunmi told her the night before. "We need you here." "You don't need me," Jiho replied. "You never did. The resistance isn't about one person, it's about all of us together." While Earth prepared its trap, the hegemony fleet continued its approach. Grand Executor Tell sent messages daily, describing in clinical detail the destruction that awaited. Each broadcast ended the same way: "Kneel, and perhaps some will be spared." Each time, Earth sent the same reply: silence. The modified shuttle lifted off 3 hours before the fleet would enter weapons range. Just 3 humans inside, carrying the hopes of an entire planet. They transmitted hegemony identification codes taken from captured ships, nestling themselves within the incoming fleet's formation as it made final approach. Inside the cramped shuttle, Jiho watched the enormous planet killer growing larger in their viewscreen. The ship was unlike anything they'd seen before. Not built but grown, its surface rippling slightly as if breathing. "It's organic," Hyunwoo whispered, fascinated despite their danger. "At least partially." Their small shuttle approached the massive vessel's docking bay, transmitting clearance codes that had been extracted from the hegemony's own communications. For a heart-stopping moment, nothing happened. Then the bay doors began to open. "They're actually letting us in," Yunji breathed. "They're arrogant," Jiho replied. "They've never lost, never been tricked. Why start worrying now?" Once inside, they moved quickly. The plan was simple: reach a main communication node, upload the virus, get out if possible. The if possible part hung unspoken between them. The ship's corridors were strangely empty. Most of the crew would be at battle stations, preparing for the attack on Earth. The few aliens they encountered paid little attention to them, assuming they belonged there. They reached the communication center with surprising ease. Hyunwoo immediately began interfacing their devices with the alien technology, while Jiho and Unji stood guard. "How long?" Jiho asked. 3 minutes to full upload," he replied, fingers dancing across his equipment. "Then the virus needs about 5 minutes to integrate fully with their systems before it activates." "So 8 minutes to get out," Yunji calculated, checking her weapon. "Start now," Jiho ordered. The upload began. For the first 2 minutes, everything went smoothly. Then alarms blared throughout the ship. "They've detected us," Hyunwoo said, eyes fixed on his screen. "They're trying to block the upload. Can they stop it?" "Not if I can help it," he replied, his hands moving faster. "But they'll be coming for us." Jiho and Yunji took positions. At the door, weapons ready. The sound of approaching troops echoed down the corridor. "Upload complete," Hyunwoo announced. 5 minutes until activation." "Time to go," Jiho said, leading them into the corridor and directly into a squad of alien soldiers. The firefight was brief and brutal. Yunji took a hit to her shoulder but kept moving. They fought their way back toward the shuttle bay, the ship's alarms howling around them. 2 minutes to activation. They reached the shuttle only to find it surrounded by armed guards. There would be no escape that way. "Secondary plan," Jiho said grimly. They'd prepared for this possibility, barricading themselves in a maintenance shaft near the outer hull, hoping the virus would work before they were discovered. 1 minute to activation. Sealed in the small chamber, they listened to the sound of alien troops searching for them. Through a small viewport, they could see Earth hanging distant and blue against the blackness. "It looks so peaceful from here," Yunji whispered, clutching her wounded shoulder. "Worth fighting for," Hyunwoo agreed. The countdown in Hyunwoo's device reached 0. For a moment, nothing happened. Jiho felt a sinking feeling. Had they failed? Then the ship shuddered violently. Emergency lights flashed. Through the viewport, they saw something incredible. The fleet's weapons had activated, but they weren't firing at Earth. They were firing at each other. The virus had worked, better than they'd dared hope. It hadn't just disabled the weapons, it had turned them against their own ships. The quantum network that linked the entire fleet had become their undoing. "We did it," Yunji breathed. The ship rocked again as it took fire from its companions. Hull breach alarms sounded. "Now we just have to survive it," Jiho said. They never made it back to their shuttle. As the ship began breaking apart, they sealed themselves in an escape pod, launched into space and watched the destruction of the planet-killer fleet from a distance. The massive ships torn apart by their own weapons, debris spreading across space in a glittering cloud. 3 days later, their pod was recovered by an Earth vessel. They returned to a planet celebrating not just survival, but victory. In the months that followed, Earth continued to strengthen its defenses, expecting hegemony retaliation that never came. The uprisings on other worlds had spread too far, too fast. The once mighty empire was fighting for its own survival. 1 year after the first ships appeared over Earth, representatives from 17 liberated worlds arrived for a historic summit. Former slaves and conquered peoples, now free, coming together to build something new. Jiho watched them arrive from the conference center balcony, standing with Tae-woo, Sunmi, and Young-ho. "Did you ever imagine this?" Sunmi asked, gesturing to the alien delegates entering below. "Not even close," Jiho admitted. "I just wanted us to survive." "We did more than survive," Young-ho said. "We changed the galaxy." Tae-woo pointed to a small group of children playing nearby, a mix of human and alien young. "That's the real victory," he said softly. "The future they'll build together." That evening, as the summit officially opened, Jiho addressed the gathered representatives. "They came to force Earth to kneel," she said, her voice carrying across the silent hall. "They thought we would surrender like so many before us. They were wrong. When threatened, humans don't bow down. We stand up. They demanded our submission, and we answered with fire." She raised her glass in a toast, repeated by hundreds of voices, human and alien alike, "To freedom across all worlds. May it burn forever."